And actually, Gabby,
Mhm.
are you able to move on to the next slide so that we could see? Okay. Right. So we still have the slido.com um, website at the left-hand corner here. And when you go to that site on your mobile phone, you'll see this code come up. Oh, sorry, you don't see the code. You put in this code into Slido, and that will connect you to our presentation. Alrighty? Just give me a thumbs up if you are doing okay. If not, please let us know in the chats if you need help.
Nobody has their screen on, so we can't see thumbs up,
Oh yeah,
but
it's
it's
in the
fine.
text chat. Yeah.
Um, I don't even know what to chat. Oh. Mm.
Okie dokie. See, my camera's still bugging around like that. Um, Also, you're allowed to go unmute if you have any questions. If you want to shout out, if you're lost, we can help you. We're just gonna give you a few minutes to do the icebreaker. And just checking in with Lele, Lily, Hypatia. Okay, you were able to get through? Great, awesome. Alrighty, so let's just say, okay, now I can see the words change. This is cool. So okay, everyone's kind of excited to get some guidance from us, and they also want to hear more about diversity, and also hiring process for neurodivergent designers, guidance, reasonable accommodations, productivity tips. Oh, accessibility. Yeah, I'm liking this. You're here, you're just listening from bed
Mm.
as it's very early in the morning. Oh, okay, Lily's gonna be watching, but yeah. Alrighty. This is cool. So we got this is an active poll, so we actually got like 8 respondents here, which is great. We might have had some respondents from our test, but we could see this word cloud grow and change in different colors. So this is what happens when we're all kind of you know, working together and collaborating in this live type of word cloud experiment. But yeah, oh, Brandon says his computer is lagging. Yeah, so it's okay. Guys, if your computer is lagging, it's totally okay to like turn off your video. So, Mallory, if you feel comfortable with your video off, that's totally fine. You don't have to have it on, okay? It's just for
It's
connection
fine. I
issues.
actually,
Yeah.
I just made the slide bigger, so I don't even see anyone's videos anymore. So it's fine. If you guys can still see me, that's whatever.
Yeah, it's okay. And yeah, I think that's it for the icebreaker activity. We don't want to delay. But that is really cool. Thank you guys for participating in that little icebreaker. That will just introduce you a little bit to how Slido works and how this fireside chat is supposed to work. But yeah, this is the first time that we've done it, so we wanted to kind of test it on this audience to see if we can create some kind of connection that way. And that's really cool. Thanks for doing that. And for those of you that are kind of new to the Collective Studio, we are a community that's focused on UX design education through design sprints, and a lot of our workshops are very hands on, so you learn by actually doing things. Also, we've made it up to 2,000 members, so we're constantly growing. We're so happy that you're all here with us. We're a community made up of not just student designers, but also professionals who are looking to sharpen their skills and also make friends and find a new job. So, yeah, that's the Collective Studio in a nutshell. And next is Meet the Speakers. So, today I will be speaking. So, my name is Melanie. I'm a freelance graphic designer slash UX product designer. And I'm also the co founder of the Collective Studio. So, I've had like a background in graphic design for about like 7 years. So, I've worked both in house, remotely, and at agencies. Some of my other clients that I've worked with was like Whirlpool, Spin Master, a really popular toy company. If you've heard of Hatchimals, it's yeah, I've did some ads for that company for like e-com. Um, and our next guest is Brandon Powell. So Brandon, I'll leave the floor to you.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm a disability mentor at ADP List, and I'm also an independent freelancer. I've been working with some small startups since the pandemic, and that's me in a nutshell.
Okie dokie. And Samantha, I don't think could be here with us today. And that will leave us with another speaker, our last speaker, but not least, Malory Cloke. So, Malory, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Mallory. I go by Mal, but a lot. I've been a graphic designer for a little over 10 years with experience in an in-house marketing and branding type of environment. I'm also about a year and a half into my product or UX design journey. I'm currently freelancing a little bit, but mostly looking for full-time jobs because the freelance life I don't think is for me. But who knows? Maybe who knows what will come. Um, I also don't personally see a lot of difference between graphic or visual communications design and product design. To me, it's kind of all just design and all related in some way. And I just like design. I like making things. I like visual design. But yeah, that's me.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm.
Next is a quick intro to the topic of neurodiversity. So, for those of you that are not very familiar, neurodiversity is a term that was created by this sociologist from Australia named Judy Singer. You should look her up. She's really good. She does a lot of talks, does a lot of education as well. Like, she does a lot of like trainings. So basically, neurodiversity is just brain differences. The way that your brain is wired changes your perceptions, your senses, the way that you experience the world, the way you communicate. Basically, everything about you is very much to do with your neurology. And for people who are just slightly different from the rest of the population, so people who are autistic, people with ADHD, dyslexia, and other neurological conditions, uh, it impacts the way that we interact with people. It impacts the way that we create communication. Sorry, that we communicate and connect with each other. And this term neurodiversity kind of helps to humanize people who have these conditions. So instead of being looked at in a very like psychoanalytical way of having deficits and being very different and not being enough, our differences are seen as just differences. They're just variances in the way that human beings can think, behave, and experience the world. So there is no right or wrong, and this is kind of like a political movement as well as a social justice movement, neurodiversity, because it helps to um, uh, I guess empower and also mobilize people with disabilities so that our needs are seen as just as worthy as anyone else's. And the next slide, we have rankings. So right now, the rankings that you see right here are not reflective of your participation yet. So what we need from you as an audience is to jump back into Slido. So hopefully you have it still open on your phone. And what you could do now is rank the 5 topics that we are going to talk about in this 45-minute session. Okay, so we'll give you about like a minute or two. So Gabby, if you could just time like 2 minutes, we will
Sure.
let everyone get a chance to rank their favorite topics, and that will determine what we talk about for the rest of this presentation. This is interesting. And how much time do we have left, Gabby?
We have a little under a minute left currently.
Okay. Okay. It seems like okay. I think that's about time. Do you think? Like how much time do we have left now?
Only like 30 seconds
30
left.
seconds already. We have 30 seconds left.
And now we're up to 2 minutes.
Okay. All right. Voting is done and the results are I am not surprised. It's first is inclusion and diversity. So keep note of that, Gabby.
Mm-hmm.
Communication is next, and then productivity. So I think those are like the 3 top topics that like pretty much everyone here kind of wants to hear more about. So Gabby, we'll have to do a switcheroo. So we'll start with the first topic, inclusion and diversity. We'll have like a 13-minute discussion between me, Malory, and Brandon, and we'll just talk about the prompts that appear on the screen. So, Gabby, you got the time, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, okay, the prompt here it says, "How can the hiring process be more inclusive?" Um, and we'll leave the floor to whoever is ready to speak about this first. This is.
I guess I will start.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I mean, this is tricky because I think there's a lot of people that, or a lot of places that are like, oh, we are inclusive, and they say they are, but they have a lot of unconscious bias when it comes to this.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that if they could shorten the process overall, because like right now, for some reason, design hiring process is ridiculously long, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it needs to be. When I got hired 10 years ago, I had one interview with 4 people in like at once,
Mm-hmm.
and then I followed up and I got hired, and then I was a good employee. So it's like, what changed between 10 years and now? Like, why do we suddenly have 4 interviews and then we still get rejected? So I
Mm-hmm.
think if we could shorten the process, um, only because like I think neurodivergent people especially tend to suffer burnout. So if
Mm-hmm.
they're going through this whole process for like a year and like having 4 interviews or 3 interviews and then still not getting a job, it's just exhausting. Um, I also think if you could figure, if companies could figure out a way to make, if companies could figure out a way to make the interview more like casual and comfortable, then I think people who are like more introverted would have an easier time to be, or have an easier time to actually express themselves accurately. Whereas like if it's more like kind of like nerve wracking, anxiety inducing, that's not really gonna like show your authentic self as much in the interview.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like for me, for example, I'm quite introverted in the interview, but then like when I get into like creative work, I love it and I am like collaborative and it's fun. But the interview process isn't seeing that. They're seeing my like anxiety stuff, not my
Yeah.
outgoing, extroverted, love design, love talking about design. They're not seeing that. So like, and I've had a number of interviews where they have been like fairly comfortable, and I think it's paid off. And those are usually the interviews where I at least make it further into the process.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that's, I don't know. This is a tricky.
Yeah, it is. I hear you on that with like the multiple interviews. However, the way that I understand multiple interviews is the fact that when it comes to hiring a new person to join the team, they're not so much concerned about, oh, can you work? Can you do these things that we ask you to do? It's more like, can you mesh with our team? Do you have the same kind of core goals and values? They kind of want you to meet other people who are kind of leaders in the team, especially if you work for like a big corporation. It's not so much that you're going to be added
Yeah.
on to a small team. You have to get to know everyone and make sure that you're a match with like senior supervisors or even like the director of the
Mm-hmm.
company. So I think for the first rounds of
But
interviews, you meet with like the HR person or another like senior designer, and they kind of get to know who you are.
um,
And then at the next interview
but that's
stage, you get to meet the more like let's just say the more key decision makers or the stakeholders within that company. And then at the end, you meet
yes.
the CEO, and that's when you get
This
the
is how
job.
it is.
Yeah.
But this is the process. This is how it is.
Mm-hmm.
That is not inclusive because then you're hiring people who like fit. They fit in. Like that's like hiring culture fit. So you're hiring the same types of people that are all the same. You're not really hiring diverse people if
Right.
you're all, and especially like when like my very first interview 10 years ago, there was 4 people in an interview. There was an HR person,
Mm-hmm.
a designer, design lead guy, another designer, and then a like writer. I don't know what she was, an editor of
Mm-hmm.
some sort.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like between like in that one interview, you had all 4 of those.
Mm-hmm.
But like I feel like the way it is now, just it's not inclusive
Yeah. Yeah. It
because
kind
it's
of
literally to
depends.
hire culture fits.
Yeah, and I've heard of different arguments about this as well. Um, with what do you call it? Hiring people with diverse backgrounds. Sometimes people of color lose out on jobs because they're told that they're not the right kind of culture fit. So even though like the let's just say your credentials are enough and your experience is enough and everything else is a match and you seem to have interest in the company, you might find out the last minute, not a good culture fit. Like, what does that mean? It sounds kind of vague. And that's the thing I
No,
think is really different
it's
with the way
stupid.
that autistics communicate is the fact that like culture fit seems vague. It seems like, okay, what are you looking for? You're looking for soft skills. What are these soft skills? Personable. They have a good vibe. What's a good vibe? Describe what a good vibe is, right?
Yeah,
So that's
but
why with things like that, people can weed you out from minor perceptions, like things that they're not even aware. Like hiring managers do this all the time. They're not aware that they're sometimes stereotyping people that they're judging for interviews.
yeah,
So, yeah, like
yeah, they have an
be
unconscious
evaluated
bias.
like
But
that
then,
is
like, I think
yeah.
if you focus more on like if hiring managers could focus more on just like people who are kind and genuine and have the hard skills, then I feel like that is better than like trying to aim for like this like vibe. Do they have a good vibe? Like, because you're right. Like, what does that mean? Like,
Yeah.
then you're hiring the same type of person with the same vibe. Like, just hire people who are authentic and feel genuine and like that, plus the hard skills. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, what I've seen now in the
But
hiring
no,
process
people.
is applications actually ask you to disclose. Are you a visible minority? Like, are you indigenous? They ask you if you have a disability as well. I feel as though these metrics that companies use to check to make sure that they are hiring people and to be inclusive is maybe good in some ways or maybe bad in some ways. I don't know. And that's why when there's a lack of transparency as to how companies actually try to hire more women or people of color or people with disabilities for their company, I mean, it should be like talked about more. Like it should be more like transparent so people can actually see that they actually are doing the right things to, create equitable or create a diverse environment at their workplace. That's one thing that I don't really see often from companies is here's how many people that we're hiring that are from disadvantaged groups, and this is how they're being treated when they are actually there. Like very little is talked about. A lot of the times, I see companies make their company logo on social media like a rainbow flag or something like that, and that's performative, right? Because I think Mallory, you mentioned that there's two different types of like kind of types of diversity and inclusion kind of things. There's performative, and then there's what do you call it? Like sincere.
Actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So for companies to be more diverse and inclusive, they need to show like what they are doing to solve this problem and to be, I guess, more transparent in the hiring process. Let people know at every step why and why not they get the job. Because quite often I hear a lot of you know student UX designers say things like, "Oh, I was rejected, but I wasn't given a reason why. There wasn't any actionable steps for me to improve myself." And that is really frustrating when you're going through rounds and rounds of interviews and then you have no feedback. That is terrible. Like you can't even tell if you're being discriminated against. That just makes it really hard for everyone.
We have 5 minutes left.
5 minutes, damn.
Um,
I mean, this is a good question. Do you feel like you have anything to add here, Brandon?
No, nothing to add.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing is like for anyone, even like hire managers or like even like anyone, no matter who you are, just like recognize that you probably have some kind of unconscious bias. And I think a lot of hiring managers, they think that they're diverse and they're open-minded, but they're not. Because it takes work to undo these biases that we don't even know we have, but they're there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and actually, like when I see an application, and it says like, "Do you have a disability?" I'll say, "Prefer not to disclose," and then if I get an interview, that's when I'll mention it, because otherwise, like they'll see my application and they'll see that, and then they might not interview me. But if they don't see that, they'll interview me, and then I can tell them, and then I can kind of steer the conversation to like talk about my best traits of like the good part, like my strengths, and like not really mention my weaknesses as much because interviews don't like weaknesses.
Yeah. There's two ways of looking at it. Is the fact that if you did disclose, then if someone were, if HR department had like an audit to see how they're hiring and who are they rejecting frequently, they could actually track and say, hey, we've been rejecting a lot of applications from people of color or people who are indigenous or
Yeah.
women or people with disabilities, then that's a red flag. And they could target that in the company and be like, this is a problem. So we need to think about our processes a bit differently. So tracking it is good, but it also could be bad. But if it is out there in the open,
Yeah,
I
I don't
think
know
there would be
actually.
some more legal repercussions if they know that they have this problem within their company and there's evidence of it. Um,
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I should start doing that. I don't know. I think I used to, and then I stopped doing that and just said like I don't say no, but I just say prefer not to say. And yeah.
yeah. So how much time do we have now, Gabby?
We have 2 minutes 15 seconds left.
I
I
don't.
feel like we're done. I feel
Yeah,
like I'm done. I don't have anything more to say.
yeah.
I'm trying to think of something. Can't think of nothing.
We could just move on.
Yeah, I think we should move on. We
Next
don't have
question,
time for the
please.
next question. Let's go to the next topic then. So the next topic is communication. So this will be another 13-minute discussion. So we'll try to keep the
Oh
answers a bit more
God.
brief. The first question
I
is
don't think I need. I don't think I need 13 minutes for this.
yeah, okay. How
Mostly
do you
for like
prefer to
communication.
communicate at work?
I would mostly like
I,
personality. I want to see personality and communication. That's the one thing.
Personality and communication.
I
What do you
mean,
mean?
Um, be more open, like who you are, what you like to do, like your hobbies, things like that.
Oh, so you're looking for someone who's more extroverted, someone who's more
Yeah.
social. That's sometimes me and sometimes
or
not me.
I'm gonna say like I think with communication at work, I mean, I prefer like just like a more honest and upfront style, and I think like this comes with like giving like criticism and feedback. Um, I tend to do like I've actually I feel like I'm pretty good at giving feedback or like constructive criticism, but also
Mhm.
receiving it
Mhm.
because I feel like I'm like that like I'm nice enough, but I'm also like very straightforward and honest. So I won't like ramble on and like kind of confuse people. I think when you're giving feedback for work, it's important to be very honest and straightforward and like get to the point and then be
Yeah.
done with it and then like tell them and then also like say like why because like, that's nothing worse than giving criticism or constructive criticism about the project and not knowing why. So tell them just be honest and like I would say like honestly like just honesty like it's
Yeah, for
um
sorry, were you done? I have to ask just to make sure.
I think I don't know I think so I have a few more things but you can go.
Okay. Um
Uh,
I am a pretty direct communicator, and I know that has one or two
mhm.
ways of looking at it. So either people see my direct communication style as being a little bit rude, and this is the thing about miscommunication at work. It happens to me all the time, everywhere I go. Doesn't matter how much I like try to show people that I care. Sometimes I'm misunderstood as being too direct, too rude, and that can sometimes lead to friction.
You're
So
not
my
the only one.
communication style is pretty direct and straightforward because I don't like to beat around the bush. If I
Yeah.
like something, I'll
Yeah.
say I like it. If I don't, I say I don't. But it's not
Yeah.
personal. I don't engage in like personal
Oh
manipulative
yeah.
attacks and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I don't have any kind of ulterior motives. So for me, I prefer people to be direct with me because when people are too vague and maybe they're trying to be self-effacing and not, you know, not
I
saying
think
things to hurt
I
my
think we're the
feelings.
exact same on that. To be
Yeah.
honest,
Yep.
I think we're the exact same. And I think like with with giving like constructive criticism in design, I feel like if you can, this might come with experience, but if you can like
Mm,
learn to separate yourself from your work, and so when people give you feedback on your work, it's not an attack on you.
mm,
Recognize that. And
mm,
I've learned this too because like I probably got used to get offended when people would like give me feedback on my work that was negative.
mm,
But if you can like learn to kind of like realize that like they're not attacking you, they're just trying to make the work better. So you're kind of like working together to make the piece better.
mm.
Um, but yeah, also like just direct
Yeah.
honesty.
I'm seeing some messages in the chat about rejection sensitivity. So that is really hard
Oh,
on people with ADHD and also autism. Um, just the fact
that's
that
me.
a mistake was made, it feels so bad. It's like being branded with the iron. Like ugh, it just burns into your head that something has gone wrong and it was your fault or something.
It,
However, there's this
yeah,
mantra that I've heard, which is "You are not your work." Live by that mantra.
yeah,
You are not your work, right?
yeah,
Your job is something that you do, but it's
exactly.
not
And
who
like
you are as a person.
I'm definitely like I definitely have RSD, and I think this is why I've had to learn to like separate myself from my work because if I didn't, I would not be okay. uh,
Yeah. And someone in the chat says to do like a compliment sandwich, like say something nice and then go into the nitty gritty. I have a way of looking at this. The sandwich approach is something that I was taught when I was in art school. In theory, it should work, but in real life, it doesn't because psychologically, humans are just maybe we're just a little bit focused on the
Too
negative too much.
emotional.
So as soon as we hear anything negative, we tend to weigh that more than just a positive compliment. So even if you give a positive feedback first and a negative after, the negative's gonna hang around for a
Mhm.
lot longer. So in theory it should work, but I find that being open and honest in communication and just checking in with someone, be like, hey, how do you feel? Like, was that okay? Like, is there anything that I could help you with? Like, try to make yourself like approachable so that when you are giving criticism, that you're not being completely like you're not ignoring that person's needs, like you're not ignoring the fact that they feel down or something like that. Give them an opportunity to like speak for themselves, and hopefully that will help them to come out of that.
I also
Yeah.
I um I also think with communication, um it's I think it's important to manage expectations with work and like deadlines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can communicate those right up front, I feel like that helps. That's been helpful. I feel like without accurate, like without knowing what's expected of me and knowing proper deadlines, I'm just like, what do I do? Like,
Mm.
and I'm like, when is this due? So it's like I feel like I need that structure
Mm-hmm.
of like what is actually expected of me. Um, Otherwise, I'll just like keep procrastinating, and not do it.
Yeah, true, true. Gabby, how are we for time?
Definitely an executive function.
We have 6 minutes, 30 seconds left.
Okay.
Oh, I have
Do you
nothing
think?
else to say on this topic.
Yeah. Do you think we should just go to the next
Oh,
question?
actually,
Oh yeah. How do you
I
handle
mean,
feedback and criticism? We kind of addressed that in the first question, right?
we did already.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah. We.
I want to actually say like, do people? I want to maybe like in terms of communication at work. I think a lot of like extroverts and non-neurodivergent people tend to like verbal communication, whereas we tend to like emails and chats better. And I think that like I do I actually like I like for like brainstorming meetings and like getting ideas out. I do like virtual meetings like on Zoom or whatever or in person. But then in terms of like actually like being productive and getting work done, I know just like send a quick email or like send a chat saying like just because otherwise it interrupts my like if I have to like go to meetings all day long, when do I actually do the work? Right?
Hmm.
Um, so I think like written communication is tends to be more prevalent for us.
Yeah. I tend to overcompensate that way because at work, I write really good emails, but then speaking to me, it's like, mm, I'm so nervous. Like I'm overcome with anxiety almost all the time. However, if I'm doing a remote meeting, I don't have problems communicating because I'm not having to look at
Yeah,
people's faces. And I think that's kind of triggering for me. So that's not something that people notice about me because I think Hypatia also said something about masking, and that's what I also do a lot as well in social situations. I mask. So I might be extremely nervous, and every time I socialize, I sweat a lot, and it's really embarrassing if I'm in an office and I'm wearing clothes and you can see pit stains, and I'm like, being social and outgoing, it's like I'm a mess. I feel like a mess inside. But then behind a computer screen, I feel a little bit more comfortable. The fact that I'm not really looking at people's
yeah,
faces and I'm not noticing these things, it gives me such relief.
yeah. This is why I actually really like say like brainstorming for a project in a group Zoom meeting
Mm.
because there's a lot of like that in person thing that's taken away. Um, yeah,
I
but
just
then I
don't.
was like, oh, we need to go back in the office. I hate offices.
Yeah. I would rather not go to an
Remote work,
office. Unless it's like we work,
no,
because
me
it's
either.
like I could still work independently and choose to socialize if I want to, and have a nice little
Mm-hmm.
cozy little sofa to crash on. That's cool. I don't have a nice sofa in my house. I don't have a nice desk. I don't hate going to the office, but I just hate the requirement of meeting people that you don't really socialize with to socialize with them and be
Yeah,
forced to be nice to them. Not that it's not hard to be nice. It's not hard to be nice. It's more like being forced to be
yeah.
social when it goes against your neurology. It just,
I
yeah,
mean,
it wears me away.
I've worked. I worked in an office like my entire professional life before COVID, and I like seemed to manage okay. But then when I started working in remote during COVID, I was like, why am I more productive? Why am I getting more work done? So I was like, so I don't. I think I managed okay, but I think I was just like masking a lot, and like it was. I just got so used to it, and like I didn't like I liked the people I worked with, so like that was helpful. So I can definitely work in an office. I would just prefer not to.
Yeah.
We have 3 minutes left.
Oh, three
I
minutes?
think I'm done. Next
Okay,
question.
sure.
I have nothing else to say here.
Oh, in a perfect world, what does
Oh,
getting good feedback look like?
Not
Oh.
perfect world. A world not perfect. It's nothing perfect.
um, I don't. I don't think this. I don't like this question. I don't think it's
Yeah.
really. I don't think what is good feedback?
Yeah.
Well,
Is
to
that
to
feedback
me,
that's like constructive, or is it like positive feedback?
good feedback to me doesn't necessarily mean uh, you know, positive feedback, but constructive feedback,
I think it's
right?
more constructive.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
like it. I love it when people can notice what I'm trying to do and they understand where I'm getting at, but they can also
Yeah.
understand where I'm going wrong in my thinking and correct my thinking. So if someone can do that, I'd be like, "Wow, you get me." And
Yeah.
also, I could see you're helping me to be better. I could see where I've gone wrong and I'm
Hmm.
agreeing with you because, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you have the knowledge. Thank you.
Yep.
Right? So I love being
Also,
impressed, being influenced by people like that.
yeah, I'm gonna say like I feel like the best feedback is very constructive, and it's simple and to the point. So like you like get the feedback and you know exactly where you went wrong and know how to fix it.
Hmm.
Now, getting that feedback is I feel like rare. Getting that kind of feedback is a rare thing these days.
Yeah.
But that's I guess in a perfect world.
We have 1 minute
Basically,
left.
just constructive and like so simple that you just know how to fix it. You know where you went wrong. Um,
Okay. So I guess we're gonna go
That's
to like the next topic. Uh, yeah, productivity.
Productivity.
All right,
uh,
13 minutes to talk about productivity. So the first question is, how do you stay productive remotely or on site?
Hmm.
And let's hear from Brandon this time. Brandon, what
okay.
not meaning to put you on the spot. If you don't have anything to say,
That's
just
okay. That's okay.
leaving the floor to you.
So my productivity is mostly all over the place. For remotely. When I'm trying to get work done, I probably work at one piece, and then after that, I probably get bored, and then I jump onto the like a next task I have to do, and then I bounce back onto the other task that I was doing earlier to get that done. So my mind is all over the place, and mostly multitask in my productivity doing remotely. I have never done on site before.
Um, I think I kind of already said this, but as long as I have clear expectations and deadlines, I feel like that helps me. But I also like when I get like a really big project and I have to, if it's like a really big project and I have like one deadline at the end, I tend to like break it up and like make my own deadlines within that project. Otherwise, I won't start it until the until the very end, and then I'm like, what the fuck did I do? So I feel like we're kind of breaking it up into smaller tasks. Instead, even like setting your own deadlines within one big deadline has tended to help me a lot.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
deadlines are definitely important for me.
Oh
Without
yeah.
deadlines, I am like I'll just keep procrastinating.
Yeah, so
Hard for you to
I'm
get
sort of
honest.
like Brandon and like my working habits are like chaos. Like I have a lot of things
Yeah.
going on and a
Hmm.
lot of incomplete projects and I'm trying to be better at that. But what I really find that is helpful for me is to have a Kanban So I think also one of our mods on our Discord server also talked about productivity and managing your mental health through Kanbans, and that was kind of interesting because Kanbans is a very like I guess procedural way of moving things from your to-do list into activities that you're actively doing, and also you get a done pile. And when you have the done pile and you see how many things you get done, it kind of rewards you in a way. So if your brain is sort of like hooked on rewards in a bit, the Kanban can help you to see how many projects are actually sustainable enough for you to work on before you start procrastinating, and then you can actually track and make sure that you're getting things done on time. So the way that you can use a Kanban is you could also use Trello or Asana, and you could create your own Kanban yourself for free. When you have tasks, within those tasks, you can give yourself deadlines and give yourself a checklist of things that you need to do for a particular task.
Okay,
So
but
this helps you to
I
take
want to
a
talk about
project
um
and then break it down into small steps so that you could start to get yourself to do the things that you need to do, and not have a bunch of incomplete projects that are like hanging around in the ether. But
um
go on. Yeah.
okay, so I I hate digital task managers. I feel like when they're on my desktop, they're in a window and I can't see them and they're hiding, and then I'll forget about them.
Yep.
So I use this as a bullet journal, and I literally have to write things down on paper, and so I can have it in front of my face. If it's on like some window on my computer, and especially if I have like 20 tabs open, then I'm gonna have to like keep going back to that. Otherwise, I can't see it, and then I forget about it. So I don't like. I've used Asana, whatever it is. I've used Trello. I hate them. I don't know. My brain just doesn't work like that. I need to write things down. And
Yeah.
then like when you're working with a team that uses that, that's good for like organizing the team's tasks. But I think if you're trying to manage your own tasks and your own like, check it off my list. Like I'm just gonna use my own thing, and then try to update the group thing later. But like my old boss, he literally would write everything down on a whiteboard. Like didn't use any task manager, like nothing, just everything on a whiteboard in his office,
Yeah, and
and it worked.
I had a professor that told us that in this workshop that we're doing, they said, I don't remember which study they mentioned, but they said that like based on our behavior, if we write things down as a habit, we tend to retain our memories more.
Remember it.
So when you
Yep.
are making notes in university,
Yeah.
you probably know this from going to university, you have to write notes. If you
Yep.
do everything on your laptop and type everything out, it doesn't work the same way, right? So I agree with you that like writing down notes in a diary is definitely helpful for keeping your memory fresh. I used to do that a lot when I worked on site. When I worked at Spin Master as like a freelance designer, I did that a lot because there were a lot of projects that were kind of like piling up for me. And it just was helpful to sit at my desk without having any kind of software and making notes about the work that I need to do, including some sketches, thumbnails, and wireframes. And I don't know, it was easier for me to do that than to just rely on software. But when I work remotely, I do rely on digital apps to kind of help me to keep track of things, because as long as I have my mobile phone and I have like Trello on my phone, I get reminders, and kind of getting a sound or a buzzing noise from my phone, it vibrates when I get notifications. So it helps me to like check these apps frequently to make sure that I'm communicating with my teams properly, to make sure that the to-do list is actually getting done. So when it comes to personal planning and memorization of things that you need to do, I definitely agree with Mallory that like writing things down is the best way. However, if you're working dynamically with different teams remotely, I find software is good. Otherwise, I'd be writing way too much and not really getting much done. But that's me personally. If for you, you could do it any way that you want to, but that's just our
Yeah, I mean, like
impressions of it.
honestly, like I think with the terms of this, it's just whatever works for you. Like there's no right or wrong way to be productive. Whatever if it works for you, great. If you can get the work done, cool. Do what you gotta do. Everyone's probably gonna be productive in a different way. So like, don't feel like because everyone uses Asana that you need to use Asana or whatever. Right? Just do it works. There's probably so many ADHD people and autistic people who write things down and prefer like a paper journal or paper agenda. It works. Like maybe it's just
We have 6 minutes left.
Yeah, I think we can move on to the next question. Ooh, how does executive function
this is.
change the way you work? Like, how does it influence you?
I
Okay,
think I already talked about this. I That was me kind of like saying like I just break really big tasks into smaller tasks, and then because otherwise it's not as scary to start.
yeah.
Deadlines, that kind of thing.
Yeah, for me, the way that I interpret this question is like how it impacts you, whether it's negative or positive. So for me, quite personally, I know I deal with like generalized anxiety disorder like all the time. So if I am crashing and I'm burning out, I have a low capacity for, let's just say, tolerating certain stressful situations. So when it comes to me being productive at work, I find that I'm less productive when I'm burning out. So it's really important for me to maintain like my mental health so that I could be productive at work, because if I have a meltdown or if I have a panic attack, it stops me from you know, getting on top of my to-do list. I tend to work shorter hours and I just get less work done. However, that's something that I think every person can speak truth to differently, because of course my life is a little bit more complicated than someone else's
Yeah.
life and you have your own complications, so you know, that's how it is. So I'd like to hear from Brandon. Do you have anything to say on
Um,
executive function? Like, has it affect you in a negative or a positive way?
can you explain that question a little simple?
Executive function is like your ability to plan and to actually take action on things. Um, how does that interfere or interfere with the way that you work? Because I think that's a common thing that people with ADHD and autism spectrum disorder may have, is not being able to um, keep up with social demands or demands of work and personal life. So, has your ADHD affected you in the way that you work in a negative or positive way? That's basically it.
So yes, sometimes when I feel very overwhelmed in some tasks, or like if I have like a design challenge from a job and it's very overwhelming, I start getting tired and exhausted, and sometimes can't finish the whole assignment that I've been given. So sometimes I just have to take a day and take a break and go back onto it the next day. Or probably the next day I probably feel tired, and probably 2 or 3 weeks days I probably go back on it.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
question is hard.
That's
We
true.
have 2 minutes.
I just I
Sorry,
just
what did
said
you
in the
say,
chat.
Gabby?
I do.
We have
We have
two
two
minutes
minutes.
left.
2 minutes. Okay.
I was
Oh
gonna
yeah,
say.
going
I said
outside.
in the chat. Um, when I get stuck on like certain things and like a project is overwhelming, or I don't know, like I have like a creative block or something, I'll just try to like take a lot of breaks. When I worked on campus, like at my old job, I would just go outside for a walk around this kind of in a circle,
Mm,
or outside. If I'm working remote, it's easy to go outside, get a break, or even like just a healthy work-life balance.
mm-hmm.
If you're stuck on something, don't stare at your computer screen hoping that the idea is going to come to you, because it probably won't. If you're stuck on something, take a break, move on to something else, and maybe when you come back to it, it'll
Yeah,
help.
I've heard of this technique called
I mean,
Pomodoro technique. So I guess every hour of work that you do, you take like a 5 minute break or a 10 minute break, just to keep your momentum. But I also have a story of this happened with a client of mine recently. Um, so I helped design this microsite for this popular brand in Canada, and I really crashed and burned when it came to details. And this is the thing about my brain, is the fact that under pressure, if I'm asked to look at copy and find punctuation errors and inconsistencies, I will gloss through a lot of things that would be considered like a problem, and I didn't focus on these things. So when I'm under pressure and having that anxiety build up every time that I go through feedback sessions with like the design manager, I I felt so shit at the end. I had to take a step away from my job doing freelance work just so that I can maintain my mental health again. It's not something that happens to me often. However, when it comes to paying attention to details without the time to accommodate for my ability to pay attention, I'm just not able to finish things on their deadline. So with this particular client, they were really nickel and diming everything. So they really wanted things to be done cheaply and fast, and they were paying me by the hour. So that's the problem, right? So if you got clients that are paying you by the hour and they have you doing a bunch of revisions for a really complex project and they want it done the next day, for me, my mind is just crashing because I'm looking at a bunch of words on the screen and I don't even see the errors that I'm making. So without the extra time, that kind of disability accommodation is so important. But communicating that with the client that I had, it didn't really quite work through because I didn't tell them that I had a disability. However, I tried to explain to them the reasons why I needed the extra time to focus on these details, and they rejected it. So this is a case where it's like my mental health crash and burn just by asking for my needs to be considered, and they were just like, nope. So yes, sometimes clients will be like that. They can accommodate for you. They can do these things. Oh shoot. Sorry, I have a call coming in. So I'm gonna step away for a second, but feel free to move on to the next question. Sorry, I'm taking too long. Yep.
Um,
Hello.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
In short
Oh, you're
terms,
outside.
I absolutely
Okay,
need a
great.
routine.
Thank
And
you.
actually,
Bye
I've
bye.
like
Yeah, yeah. Bye
when
bye.
I
Hold on.
was working full time before, I had a very, very like strict routine where like my life was so automated that like this is probably why I wasn't diagnosed till I was like 33 or 32 or whatever it was, because I just like I was so good because I had such a strict routine. And since I got laid off at the end of 2020, and since then I've been like freelancing and like looking for jobs and being like kind of all over the place a little bit compared to what I used to do. And I've noticed, and especially like it's gotten, I think it's gotten a little bit worse. Where I just have like no routine, and I just don't function as good. I'm far less productive than I am when I have a routine.
And is your routine more structured, or is it kind of like what do you feel like you kind of want to structure in that day?
It is if when I have a routine, it's not so much like highly structured because like, but I need to. It's like I just need to know ahead of time what I'm doing. So like it might be different day to day, or it might like I can adapt and I can change things, but I need a little bit of time, if that makes sense. Or I
Right.
need like I feel like I don't do well with like, hey, we're like I have a planned meeting at like 2, and then like at like 1:50, someone will be like, oh, this is actually like it's different now. It's like, can you give me like 2 hours notice instead of 10 minutes notice, like that kind of thing. But like, yeah, I don't know. I think before when I had it was pretty the same because I was like working in an office, like the same place I
Mhm.
did for today.
Right.
But nowadays, I think as long as it's like I have something set, like if I was say like working someplace where I was working like remotely 4 days a week and in the office on Mondays, my routine might be different every day, or like Mondays might be different than Tuesdays, but I would still know what's expected. So I
Right.
could get like a Monday routine. I'd have a Tuesday routine. So
Do you have any insights you want
um,
to get, Brandon?
I don't have no routine. I'm still trying to figure out everything. Um, I'm not good with running routines. That's
Okay,
my
so
biggest issue.
I guess you would say that you're more free flowing then.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I try. I wish I was more free flowing. I try to be, and then it doesn't work out so well. So I'm like,
So the next thing is we have questions. So if you guys use a Slido app, you can ask questions to us. For some reason, it's not showing up, but let's see. Q&A, here we go. So for all our people on the call, if you guys have any questions that you'd like to ask us, definitely write it in, and then our speakers can address your questions. I'll put on like a 3-minute timer for everyone to get in their questions. And then we'll go from there if anyone asks us any questions.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree in the chat that routines just make you feel more like grounded. Whereas, but then if you're like both ADHD and autistic, you tend to like, you need a routine, but then you hate routines. So you're like, where do I? It's like constantly back and forth. Which sometimes I feel like I have days like that where I'm like, I need to like switch this up. But, or like, I have a routine, but then like, I think the ADHD part of me is like, if the routine isn't working, then I have zero problems finding a new routine. Like, it's like, if I know this isn't working, I'll just be like, I'm going to start doing this instead. And then I'll just start doing that. And then within like a week, that's my new routine.
Okay, cool.
And then, like sometimes, if you're on a routine and you're doing the same thing every day, that might feel boring. So it's sometimes good to free flow.
Yeah, that does actually happen. And like when I was working, I worked at one place for 10 years. So like even though I look back and I'm like, that was good for me, I actually like, it was boring at times and it was just like kind of stifling. It's like, but then I was like, but I need this to function, but it's boring. But it's like, what do I do? Who has questions? Anyone have questions? You can just ask questions in the chat too. That's easy. I need to. What time is it? Oh, I gotta get going soon.
I'm not really seeing any questions. If anyone has any, oh, someone does have a question. Okay, we'll wait for you to write in your question.
Waking up, looking at my clock, and going back to sleep.
Same. I wish that was my routine.
That's the best routine ever.
Mallory, do you have a specific way you go about structuring a routine?
I don't know if I do. I think I just do what feels right. And then it like, and I feel like this is so like, depending on, it's different for everyone, but I just have to kind of do what feels right and like organize everything I have to do. And then, yeah. And then, like I said, like if it's not working for me, I have zero problems just like changing my routine. Like, I think I've always been like, I'll go to work from the like 8:30 to 4:30, and then I would go to the gym right after work. And then in the pandemic, I did that for a while where I would like work all day and then go to the gym in the evening. And then I was like, because I'm working from home, I was like, why can't I just go to the gym like in the morning and kind of get it done? Since I'm like, I could still be available like 9:30 or 10 to work, and no one would really know because I'm working remotely. So I did that, and it was like, so I like just up and like started changing it. I started going to the gym in the morning, and then in the winter I change it back so I go to the gym more late at night, just because I was like, I want to sleep in. I'm not doing anything at night anyway. It's winter and cold outside. So that, and then I think in like April or May, I started going in the morning again because I was like, I want to have summer nights off. So I just kind of like go by feel and like
Mm-hmm.
do it
Does
feels
your
right.
design routine change
Especially
at all,
like
or does that stay constant?
it does. It definitely changes, and I think it changes for me a lot based on the weather, based on the season. So, like I said, like in the winter, I like I don't have much to do at night because it's cold outside here. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll kind of work during the day more, and then the summer I will probably get up earlier because it's light outside and it's easier. So I don't know, and I think like being autistic, I think a routine has always come so natural to me. Like I'll just do it, and like within a few days of doing that, it's my routine, or like a week, maybe not a few days.
I
Okay.
come
Hey,
here with CD,
I'm back.
CBD more
I'm seeing some
with
chats
my
about edibles, and I'm like, hell yeah.
My design routine.
CBD always helps.
Yeah, I find THC also helps of like pain and anxiety management. However,
No,
everyone's experience is different.
you guys.
Mhm.
I took CBD gummies and they did nothing for me. Like
Yeah,
I ate one and
CBD.
then I was like, "Should I be or something?" Like nothing. I was like, "This is a ripoff."
Yeah,
I
CBD
I
is
want my
really
money back.
expensive, and I find it doesn't do
Um,
enough for me. However, THC that has more of the euphoric kind of calming full body high. I
um,
feel better on
oh
that, and
wait,
I can socialize a lot better on that as well.
I would
whose
walk.
sound is on?
Yeah.
Um, my someone asked about my design routine. Now,
Mhm.
I don't know how to answer that, and I think like I also am not working a lot right now, so I have to think back to like when I actually had work. I think I would always like whenever I get a new project, I'll try to like ask the main questions first and like figure out what I'm doing and figure out what I need to do on it, and then just kind of break it into sections and like figure out the best place to start. Always like I try to like kind of like organize my files right away, like set up like a folder on my computer so I can save things in the right spot because I'm super organized that way. And I when things aren't organized and things are saved in weird places, it's frustrating. Um, but I feel like in terms of a design routine, just try to keep everything organized at the beginning. Otherwise, you'll hate yourself later.
Yeah.
Ask questions at the beginning if you don't
Mm.
understand something. Clarify. Otherwise, you'll start working on something and then you'll hand it in like 2 weeks later and it'll be wrong. So
Mm.
ask more questions than you think you need to at the beginning. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, uh,
Me?
I don't really have a design routine, but I have habits. I get into the habit of drawing and
Yeah.
sketching out my ideas, and also doing mind maps or mental maps. Just kind of like creating a web of ideas, just so that I understand, where my line of thinking is coming from and where it leads to. And also when it comes to drafting up wireframes and stuff like that, sometimes I get inspiration on the moment and I just draw it out. So having a sketch pad available to do that so that you can get your ideas out is great. Um, I've done Crazy Eights kind of uh, exercises for participants in our design sprints, and that kind of helps people to just get their ideas out on paper instead of thinking self-consciously like, is this good enough? Like, no, just try to think of ideas that you want to convey in your wireframes and do it with pen and paper, because you're not going to spend hours trying to design things at a higher level. Try it at the very lowest level so that you can actually get these ideas in front of your design team, in front of whoever your supervisor
Um,
or manager is, and not waste so much time committed to a mistake, so to speak. So get into the habit of getting all
yeah.
of your terrible ideas out, evaluating as you go along, and you will be better at it.
I mean, also in terms of ideas, like a lot of there's even before sketches, I would say, especially if you're working with people, like a team, just do like a general brainstorm, like come up with whatever ideas you can come up with. And like they might be good ideas, they might be shit ideas. You don't know until you like just like sit around a virtual chat or in-person chat and just talk about random stuff and see what comes up from it. And then maybe like go to like sketching and coming up with more like concrete design ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyways, I actually have to get going. I don't know how long this chat is gonna go for, but it was
Yeah.
nice chatting.
Yeah.
Hopefully I had some insight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed me rambling about random stuffs.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. Yeah, it is about like 6:08 p.m., so it's about time that we wrap up. Um, so Malory, how can our members follow you if you have like a social media account that they could maybe follow you on, like LinkedIn?
Um, you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can find my Insta. Actually, hold on. I'm gonna. I don't even know my LinkedIn page.
Oh, I can copy and
Well, no, that's not. This is that's my Instagram. I put it in the chat. My website is that, and I think my LinkedIn is linked to my website, so you can find my LinkedIn account on my website.
yeah, and I'll drop the link to your LinkedIn in the chat as well. There you go.
Okay,
That's it. If you want to follow Malory and say hi and see what she's doing.
that is. I make a lot of posts on my LinkedIn about how much the hiring process sucks,
Mm-hmm.
so it's fun. Um, okay.
Exactly. Alrighty.
Anyways, I gotta go. Bye.
All right. Thank you, Mallory. And thank you, Brandon, for chatting with us as well. And thank you, Gabby, for being our graceful facilitator, co facilitator. And thank you, Lewis, as well, for recording this event. If you missed out on this talk, don't worry. We will upload it on YouTube, and you can watch back and replay all the conversations that we had. Anywho, thank you everyone for joining. We appreciate it. We hope that we helped you in some kind of way. Uh, I have nothing else to say, and I'm always around, so you could always talk to me on the server. Anyway, bye bye. Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you, everyone.